What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a podcast about movies. I am Jacob Barber, joined as always by Austin. Austin, how's it going? I went the right way the first time. I didn't even
Hey,
hesitate.
let's see if I can do it. You're over there. There you are.
Whoa!
Hey, ahoy, me matey. Yo ho ho, what a bottle of rum. Board the Orca with the seven seas. No, I'm doing good. I know you're recovering from your afternoon of watching a double
Oh,
feature of
it's
very
been
bad
a day.
movies. We'll get there, but we got some good stuff on tap. Hey, at least you can say you've seen them now. You know, if anything,
True.
you never really you can talk about them here and then never watch them again if you don't ever want to. So
Yeah,
that's nice.
I talked so much on the worst remakes episode about how I just watch good movies. Apparently, I don't waste my
Yeah, you watch a lot of good stuff,
bad
right?
movies, and then we did this.
Yeah, right. Hey, listen, I think bad movies can cleanse the palate every now and then, though, and make you really appreciate the good stuff, though, Jacob.
It does, yeah.
It's
It makes me appreciate just how great the first movie in this
right.
franchise
See,
really
because
is.
then when you watch the first one, and we should say we're talking about Jaws tonight, so like the franchise, we should say, yeah, because yeah, you watch like Jaws 3D and Jaws the Revenge, and you just go like, wow, that first one really was a masterpiece, right? I mean,
It really was.
I knew that anyways, but like, man, was it a step down in the subsequent, 10, 12 years after that movie. And it makes you even appreciate the ride. I used to go on the ride a lot at Universal Studios, Jacob. Even that
Oh, okay.
ride
I've never been,
had a
so
lot of merit. Yeah, it's no longer active. The only place you can see, I mean, you can see videos of it online if you ever want to.
right.
You can experience the ride. I experienced it many many times in Orlando, so much so that I knew the script essentially to the
Nice.
to the ride of the person driving the boat per se. I could recite it to you, like say goodbye to those happy land lovers. Welcome to Captain Jake's Empty Boat Tours, the best and only scenic tour on the island. Our first stop is our Chief of Police Martin Brody. No, I can do the whole thing, but I'm not going to. Good stuff. But yeah, this is a movie. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Jaws. We should say we're in the middle of the summer blockbuster season, so that's why we're
Which is
kind of
funny because
yeah.
summer doesn't actually start for 11 days.
Technically, but like it's hot. I
Well,
mean, I know they always say that, but like, come on, like
yeah,
it's sunny outside. It's getting
yeah.
hot.
I
You
mean,
know,
my day has been gray. We've actually gotten rain the last couple days, which
right?
was very surprising. But yeah, it's always funny to me how I'm not sure how it was, back in the 70s, 80s, but
Right.
now it's like the summer movie season is starting in May, and it's like spring is only like halfway done. But yeah, we're calling it the summer movie
Well,
season.
sometimes even earlier than that. Didn't Avengers Endgame come out in like April
I think it was
25th
like
or
either
something?
end of April, beginning
Yeah,
of
it
May,
was like
something
end
like
of
that.
April. So like I mean they pushed it back even further for something like that. But it seems to me like we've had a year where we've had some decent movies coming out, throughout the entire year. And yeah, the summer is still the summer, but it's like, over the years, I think it's gotten to the point where, you get big movies throughout the year, especially ones that strategically put them out maybe in a different month so they don't get overwhelmed. I think you're going to see in the
Right.
next couple of weeks, there's a lot of movies coming out. So some of them are going to get swallowed up, no pun intended, but by the competition. But yeah, this is the term blockbuster. Yeah, it didn't really come around till something like Jaws in 1975. And for anybody who doesn't know, the term really refers to when you used to have these sort of one or two screen, just theaters that just had one or two main auditoriums, and maybe only showed the movie two or three times a night, something like that. And people would literally have to wait around the block, form a line to get your tickets to get into that, either that first show or that second show. Sometimes they'd fill up the theater and the next group would have to wait 2 hours, standing on the block for the next showtime, Jacob. I mean, can you imagine in the days way before, online ordering and picking your seats, and, you want to see the big movie, you gotta literally wait around the block for the next showtime at 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. Get in line at 6 o'clock to wait. I mean, I did a little bit of that before online ticketing for some movies in the late 90s, early 2000s. Where you get to the theater about an hour ahead of time to make sure you got a
Mhm.
seat in the theater or something like that, or to get I'd go to the theater and get tickets in advance. I remember getting tickets for The Dark Knight about a week in advance. Well, a big group of us from work were going, so I went and bought like 8 tickets in advance.
Oh, nice.
For like a week ahead of time for like the midnight show. But yeah, before kind of Fandango came along and all those things.
Yeah, that's a movie I'd like to go back and see on the big screen because I missed it in theaters when it was
Did you
initially
really?
released. Yeah,
Are
I
you
wasn't able
serious?
to. Yeah, I wasn't able to get to the theater for
I
that
saw,
one, and
I
so
think including the re-releases in IMAX and stuff, I saw it like 8 times in the theater, something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if I mean,
we should be coming up on the 15th. Like
we're on
so,
the 15th is this year, so it was 2008. So I mean,
so
I'm
maybe there will be a
surprised that there
theater
aren't
somewhere around me.
somebody will show it.
Yeah,
Maybe
I can convince them like, hey, let's go see this, and
you have to for
let's,
sure
let's
because
watch it on the big screen.
yeah, you got to see
Yeah,
it on the big
and
screen.
even Jaws. Like Jaws is something I'd like to see.
Never seen it on the big screen,
I
huh?
never saw
Ever?
it on the big screen. No, yeah, no, I haven't
Interesting.
seen a lot of the classics on the big screen. Like this one is one that I would love. Jurassic Park is another one that I would love to see on the
Okay.
big screen.
I've been very fortunate, Jacob, that when I lived in Jacksonville, I had quite a few. My Cinemark had like a Cinemark series where they showed classics like every week, like Sundays and Wednesdays.
Oh, nice.
So I saw a lot of the old school movies on the big screen for the first time. That's first time I saw 2001: A Space Odyssey was on the big screen.
That's
First time
another
I
one.
saw Lawrence of Arabia was on the big screen, which was awesome. The way that movie's meant to be
Oh,
seen,
nice.
or Bridge on the River Kwai. I've seen Mary Poppins on the big screen a couple of times, which I know you would love to
I would
do.
love that.
I
Yes,
mean,
absolutely.
I actually was making a list the other day, Jacob. If you want me to rattle them off, as far as I can tell, of sort of the old school classic movies that I've seen on the big screen, I think that I can remember, and I'm sure there's other ones, but Mary Poppins. I finally got to see Batman a few years ago on the big screen. Aliens a few years back. The Thing I've seen 3 or 4 times in the theater, which is awesome. If you ever get a chance to see The Thing, go see The Thing in the theater. You have to. Like I said, Lawrence of Arabia 2001, which 2001 is an experience. Like you need to see it in a theater, like on the big screen if possible.
Okay.
Dr. Zhivago. I've seen Godfather 1 and 2 on the big screen. I've seen Goodfellas, Casablanca, Citizen Kane. Double feature one night around Halloween of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein. That was
Oh,
fun.
nice. Yeah,
that was a good one. That was a Fathom event where they just did a double feature, so that was cool because each one was like 62 minutes.
that's like the runtime of a movie nowadays.
Right,
So.
exactly. I think they played the first one. They had like a 10-minute intermission, and then they played the Bride, and that was it. It was like 2 hours, and you're out of there. Like,
You could almost watch those as a full movie too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if you just combine them, like no big
blend
deal.
right in.
Yeah, they had a break in between, but it was still cool. I've seen the original Planet of the Apes on the big screen. I've seen RoboCop a couple of times, actually. I've seen Jaws, like I told you, 6 or 7 times, actually, on the big screen. Well, there was a theater called Sunray Cinema that used to show a lot of old movies, just a fun kind of hipster, art house theater. So they would show a lot of stuff. They showed Jaws every 4th of July. So, I mean, that was just like an annual thing. So that was cool. I've seen the original Dawn of the Dead. I've seen the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Enter the Dragon, Scarface, T2, Jurassic Park. I've seen 4 or 5 times on the big screen, including IMAX and in 3D. I've seen Alien, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Bridge on the River Kwai, Bonnie and Clyde, and High Noon, as far as I can tell. So a pretty good amount of stuff that I've been fortunate to see. But yeah, as far as coming back to this one, Jaws, just coincidentally, there was a screen a few towns over in this place called Tryon, where they have one of those they've redone one of those old classic auditorium, just one screen theaters, with a small concession stand and, just the old school kind of one you see from like the 30s or something like that. And they're going to show classic movies. And yeah, they were showing just coincidentally Jaws this week. So I was like, well, I got to rewatch Jaws anyways. Let me go down there on my day off. And they were showing at 3:30 in the afternoon. Like I went and saw it. And then I told you, texted you, I'm sure you were insanely jealous. They were going to show Singing in the Rain that night as well, which is like, I know you would love to see that on the big screen.
Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, you would have been.
It's another one. Like, there's so many just classic movies that like if I had to make a top 5,
right?
I think, and obviously I'm not gonna put them in order. I'm just the 5 off the top of my head.
Right.
I think Singing in the Rain would be one of them.
Okay.
Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
I'd love to see The Wizard of Oz on the big screen.
I've seen The Wizard of Oz on the big screen with my mom, actually. Nice. Yeah.
Probably Alien or Aliens, one of the two. I would love to see on the big screen.
Both great in the theater, yeah.
And then I don't know if my parents took me because the movie came out when I was 4, so I don't know if I've seen it on the big screen. but I would definitely love to do it now. The Lion King. I would love to see the original animated
I
one.
want to say there was a thing a few years back where maybe about 10 years ago where they did like a 3D re-release, like they did a 3D version.
Mhm.
And I remember it coming out in theaters because I saw it in theaters. And, and same thing with Beauty and the Beast. I remember going to see Beauty and the
Oh,
Beast in
nice.
3D. Like there was a point where they were doing those Disney Renaissance movies like in 3D for
Hmm.
some reason, in the early 2010s or something, I want to say. So yeah, I mean, any chance I had it to go to the theater and watch anything like that, I took the
No,
opportunity.
absolutely.
It can only help.
Yeah.
But yeah, Singing in the Rain is one that I know. I want to say last year, Fathom Events did a 70th anniversary or something like that because it's 52, right? Like I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
they did somewhere. So it may just be a thing, or maybe the theaters around you just don't show those like Fathom Event things.
Yeah, like the one that's real close to me is just a
Yeah,
one screen, and they show like
right.
whatever the big release is for a couple weeks. Like this, they're showing Spider-Verse, but starting next week they'll do Elemental,
Okay.
um, which I'm surprised they're doing that. Maybe because of kids.
That
They
over
figure
the
they'll get-
Flash. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they just maybe
Right.
they think they'll get more families in
Right.
because it's also attached to like a restaurant and
Right.
stuff.
Okay.
So, and then they're doing Indiana Jones
Okay.
when it releases.
Sure.
So.
All right.
Yeah, I was glad they got Spider-Verse in because
Yeah.
I loved that movie. We'll talk about that more, I'm sure, on our best of
The
show
year
in a
so
few weeks.
far. Yeah, that we'll do in a couple weeks. Yeah, we're gonna
Um,
do that.
so
So
I'll save it. I'm sure I'll see it a couple more times by then too. So,
sure. Yeah. Well, especially
but
if it's right up the road, you're gonna have those days where you're just like, man, I got nothing to do this afternoon, right? Let me go up the theater and
if I
watch
didn't
Spider-Verse. Yeah.
if I didn't have to watch Jaws: The Revenge and
You would have been
Jaws
watching
3
Spider-Verse
today,
today? Yeah.
I would have, yeah, because there was a 12 o'clock showing,
Sure.
and for me it's
Yeah.
only 3 o'clock now, so I would
I
have been
know.
home just in time to set up the stream and get
Right.
going. But
But man, you gotta watch
I
Jaws: The Revenge.
I waited till the last minute. I put it off as long as I could.
Right. Right.
Um, but yeah, so but no, we obviously we're gonna spend the majority of our time talking about the first one because this
Yeah,
one
it's like at this point, can we just talk about Jaws for like 2 hours? I'd rather do that than talk about the sequels. I could talk about the original Jaws
yeah, I
for a whole
mean,
show, but no, we have to at least touch on the other ones at some point.
yeah.
But yeah, let's start with the good, I guess. Let's start with a good movie. Let's start with some good stuff. I should for this grab my where's my thing? There it is. My I didn't, and like I said, I rewatched it in the theater. I got lucky, but my 4K got my 4K
Oh,
right
nice.
there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just got the
it's
standard
nice.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, but this 4K steelbook
That does
is
look nice.
mighty pretty, and it looks mighty good on a 4K, especially all the ocean stuff in the second half. But yeah, no, it's a movie that. Do you remember the first time you saw it, or kind of how you came to
Well,
it?
I was super late to this movie because I just saw it for the
Okay.
first time like 3 or 4 years ago, actually.
Oh wow.
For the
Okay.
very first time. Yeah, I was very late to it. Because my family, like we weren't big movie people.
Hmm.
We would, do the occasional, hey, let's go to Hollywood Video or Blockbuster and rent a movie and watch it on a Friday, but we just didn't do that a lot. So yeah, no, movies wasn't something I grew up with. We
Hmm.
would go occasionally, and so like I don't know how I got into movies because as you can see, like I've got a pretty decent sized collection now,
Sure.
and what you don't see is the table behind me because my shelves are full.
Right.
It's just like stacks. Like I could turn
Yeah.
around and show you, but so no, I was very late to most of the classics, this one included, and I just watched
Okay.
it for the first time. Um, yeah, like it was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I don't even remember. I think I was just like, let me watch a movie that I haven't seen before, and
Sure. People talk about
let's
Jaws a
go. And
lot,
yeah, people talk about
especially
it.
those.
It's
Yeah.
one of
Uh-huh.
Spielberg's best, one of his earliest too.
Hmm.
And it's man, that guy's had a career. Um,
Dude, he directed this movie at 27 years old. That makes me feel like a failure.
yeah, it's like
He directed Jaws at 27. What was I doing at 27? I'm just working in my job at Publix, like just
yeah,
just doing stuff, playing video games, and he's it's like Stanley Kubrick directs Paths of Glory at like 28 years old. I'm like, what am I doing with my life? You know, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and
I just
then there's Spielberg, who's just directing what would become the highest grossing movie of all time at
yeah,
this
for a
time.
little while. Yeah,
The
and then he
Star Wars
goes
came
on
out.
to have several of the highest grossing movies of
Yeah,
all time, you know, after that, and just has, you know, one of the most amazing careers in Hollywood history.
yeah, he
But
just goes on to direct
yeah.
movies like E.T., one of the greatest adventure franchises of all time, and Indiana Jones and
And
Jurassic
he directs
Park.
Jurassic Park and Schindler's List. It's
Yeah,
Saving Private
just one of the
Ryan.
best movies ever made in Schindler's
Yeah,
List.
just, you know, all these movies, you know, that just, you know, everybody knows and everybody's seen.
Yeah, I guess he did all right for himself.
Yeah, he did all right for himself. He's doing okay.
Um, but yeah, no, he did Jaws, which was like the original summer blockbuster because yeah, it was released when like in
Yeah,
July,
it was either June or July. Yeah, they released it, and they did kind of a gradual rollout because what they did
June
was,
20th.
yeah, it was kind of a gradual rollout. And up to that point, it ended up getting one of the largest releases ever. I think it's something like 800 theaters or something like that at the time.
From what
Um,
I saw, yeah, it opened in 409 theaters with a record $7 million weekend. You got to remember, it was $7 million in 1975.
oh yeah, no, and again, 400 theaters as compared to now. The Flash is going to open up in what, probably close to 4,000 theaters, you know, or
Probably,
something
yeah.
like that. You know, every major movie, you know, major blockbuster now opens up in 3,500 to 4,000 theaters, you know, essentially. So I mean, there's way more obviously than what there was. It was a lot of things where, you know, the town, you know, the theaters like you have up the street, Jacob, those one screen theaters, you know, which is why this movie and a lot of movies that came out around this time would stay in the theater for months at a time. I
Mhm.
mean, people would just watch it. You know, it was just the one movie that was on, and everybody would go see it over and over again. And they would just hang around in theaters and just be number one. I mean, they don't really do box office back then like they do now, where it's like every week, you know, what's like the number one movie. You could track
Yeah,
it, but you know, it wasn't
right.
the same thing where you had multiple movies coming out, you know, every week or whatever. It's just like, hey, this was the big movie here, this is the big movie there, or this theater was kind of a grindhousey theater, you know, maybe played more exploitation kind of stuff, or you know, whatever the case may be. But yeah, this movie became kind of the movie of 75 to where just everybody saw it, everybody was terrified. Let me tell you a quick story from just rewatching it a few days ago in the theater. I don't know if there were people who were seeing it for the first time or just hadn't seen it in forever. This movie still plays 100%. There
Oh,
were at least 3 or 4 old ladies in the theater who screamed multiple times at the different points in the thing, namely Ben Gardner when his eyeless head, you know, comes out of the hole in the boat.
yeah.
You know, Richard Dreyfuss pulls the tooth out of the boat, you know, and then
Mhm.
the head pops, you know, into frame, you know, you know, and, oh my god, like there was one lady in the row right near me, a couple other ladies I could audibly, you know, scream. Even the first, you know, big thing when Brody's chumming, you know, and does the whole, you know, why don't you come down here and chum some of this shit? And you see like the first big giant like clear shot of the shark when he pops out, like that part still worked, like all the stuff still worked, all the big beats you know, still worked very well. So this movie still plays, man. Like damn near, we're almost 50 years, you know,
Yeah.
gone from this movie. You know, 2 years from now it'll be the 50th anniversary, which is kind of mind-boggling
Wow. I
for a
didn't even
movie
think
like
of
this.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, 25 will be yeah, 50 years, and yeah, I can't remember the first time I saw this movie exactly. I just know it used to come on cable a lot, Jacob, like TNT,
Mm,
TBS kind of stuff. It was like this. I've said this a lot. This, like Shawshank, Forrest Gump, you know, were kind of the movies that just played every Saturday and Sunday. You know, like I don't know what it was about those movies just got play. And then the sequels I used to see on like USA and like the WB all the time on Saturday afternoons at like 2 o'clock. Like they used to show Jaws 3D and Jaws the Revenge. I saw those a lot actually when I was younger.
mm.
Um, you know, and again, when you're a kid and you're like 12 years old, it's on, so you're just gonna watch it, even if it's bad. You don't really know that
And
it's
it's a
like
big shark
terrible. It's
movie.
just it's the shark movie, like whatever. So I remembered Jaws 3D, like the stupid 3D shot where the thing finally crashes into the glass at the end, you know, and all that. And I remember seeing I remember the banana boat sequence from like Jaws: The Revenge, you know, and some of the dumb things where he's roaring at the end. Like we'll get into it, but like I remember seeing that stuff even when I was a kid, and like those were so silly, but the original one was so kind of scary and serious, you know, and Yeah, I think we eventually bought it on VHS, and I've once I kind of started collecting DVDs, I had like a double DVD, special
Mm.
edition that came out, in the 2000s, and then I had it on Blu-ray and 4K and all that. And yeah, it's a movie I've seen. I mean, it's in my top 10, like it just is. This is an amazing movie that I could
Yeah.
watch. I could see it next week in the theater, and I'd be perfectly happy doing that.
Right.
Like I could, no problem whatsoever. I will sit down and watch this movie, and I just think it's just masterful filmmaking from start to finish. Like this is one of the definitions that you could say for what it's doing is a perfect film. Like in my opinion,
Yeah.
it's a perfect movie.
Yeah. Which it makes me wonder, like, how Spielberg did not get a Best Director nomination for this movie.
Yeah, kind of nuts, right? Especially given what he does in the movie and also what he went through to make the movie. I don't know
Right.
how much of the behind the scenes you've dug into this movie. I mean, I kind of
The biggest behind the scenes I think I know is about the shark, which
right.
kind of worked in their favor.
Well, and that's the thing. That's the mark of a great director, Jacob, is he took a problem and a movie that was going over budget, it was going over schedule because of the shark problems, because of the issues. But the mark of a great director is taking that and saying, okay, how can we turn this into a positive? What can we do? And instead, he comes up with these brilliant sequences where he uses other things to make it so the shark is there, but he's not there. You've got the pier, with the guys with the holiday roast, becomes the shark. You've got the sequences with the kid in the raft, like you don't really see anything, but it's there. You've got all the POV camera stuff, where you see it from the POV. So the shark is there, but you're not really seeing a physical shark. And then obviously the brilliant stuff with the barrels, with the orca, and the chase in the second half, the great conceit of these yellow barrels, where you can see the shark, but you don't have to see the shark. And
Right.
it's great because the shark literally, Jacob, only has 4 minutes of screen time. Like to where you see either a fin or the face or the body or whatever, 4 minutes out of this 2-hour movie, which is kind of incredible. And because it looms over the entire film, from start to finish, from that great opening sequence with poor Chrissy getting taken under, going skinny dipping with her very drunk man friend, and but from there, to all the different great sequences with the Kittner kid, with the pond, and then us going on the chase, like everything just perfectly set up characters. Brody's a great character. Hooper's a great character. Quint's a great character. They all have amazing chemistry together. Like a great script that perfectly sets up each of their dynamics. I mean, I can't sing the praises of this movie enough. I can literally go scene by scene. I'm not going to, but I can go scene by scene and tell you how brilliant every scene of this movie is. Like it just is.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, Quint. I was reading up on some facts about the movie. Quint was listed at Empire. Yeah, Empire magazine listed Quint at number 50 on the 100 greatest movie characters of all time. And he's not even he's not even the main character.
He's not even the main character. Brody and Hooper are kind of the main characters. Yeah.
That's just how good he was.
Good he is.
The shark. AFI listed the shark at 18 on its top 50 greatest movie villains.
See,
like you said, it's 4 minutes of screen time, but that it's there.
It's
mixed in with that score. Oh my goodness!
The brilliant John Williams. I mean, what do we say about John Williams that have already been said? There's a famous story about John Williams proposing the initial kind of main theme to Steven Spielberg, and he goes, "Steven, I got the theme," and Steven goes, "Okay," and he's excited, and he goes over to John Williams' house, and in his house, he's got a piano, he's got some instruments, he's got his own little studio. And they sit down on the piano, and he thinks he's going to hear some big orchestral, and he literally goes, dun dun, dun dun, dun 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 dun, and then he just goes, "What? That's what you got for me?" And he goes, "Trust me, it'll work." And it's brilliant because anytime the shark is around and is on the hunt, what do you hear? Dun 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 dun, and then you hear different versions of it. Boom, 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 and it builds and builds and builds, and it cuts out when it needs to cut out. And then you have that theme. You have the adventurous sort of swashbuckling stuff later on. Dun, 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 dun. It's so kind of majestic and magical, and then it's haunting when it needs to be haunting. John Williams makes this movie as much as like John Carpenter's score for Halloween makes that movie.
That's the
Yeah.
one that was just in my mind. 'Cause,
Right.
yeah, it's the simplicity of it all. It's not this
Right.
big, like there are big like moments in the score for sure, but
Mhm.
there's nothing like it's not over the top when you're with Michael or with the shark. It's that
Right.
simple the or with my in Michael's case, the iconic Halloween score.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it works. It's haunting. It's frightening. Yeah, I was reading. Um, there was a. Oh, I have to find it again. There was I was reading. There was a lady, a seven. No, it was a 17-year-old. Yeah, it was a 17-year-old female viewer who saw the movie in theater, and it caused cinematic neurosis. So it was a condition in which viewers exhibit mental health disturbances or a worsening of existing mental health disturbances after viewing a film. The
Right.
symptoms first presented as sleep disturbances and anxiety, but one day later, the patient was screaming "sharks, sharks" and experiencing convulsions.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
not only that, but like people were like scared to go in the water.
Oh no, this movie
Um,
scared half of America
so
off the beaches,
yeah,
and out of the water, even though, again, statistically speaking, Jacob, about worldwide, about 12 to 15 people a year are killed by sharks, which times that by several hundred is how many people die slipping in their bathtub every year, or or getting, obviously, times that by thousands of how many people are killed in car accidents every year.
right.
You're much more likely to die on the way to work, in a car, or even just get hit by a random car on the road, realistically, more so than a shark. It's like everybody became so afraid of these sharks, and obviously that's something that's easily avoidable. But it was amazing, yeah, what it did to the American psyche, and that people would go to the beach and just think that Jaws was right around the corner, and ready to pounce. Even though, also, just one quick thing about sharks: once they eat something like a person or any kind of large animal, they don't eat for like 6 weeks. I mean, it's like alligators. They eat a big meal, they're not going to keep eating and eating and eating and eating. They're going to chill out for a while.
More people, more people are killed by cows
Yes,
per
more
year
people are
than
killed by
sharks.
hippos. More people are killed by elephants. More people are killed by snakes or spiders, like black widow bites or brown
But you
recluse
didn't
bites.
see Charlotte's Web stopping people.
Right, exactly. There's so many more things to be legitimately afraid of that you probably encounter on a daily basis. Like I said, even just getting in your car and going on the way to work, much more likely to get hit by a car and or get into some kind of accident,
Right.
or get hit by, whatever, some kind of hail, something falling out of the sky, even, just ridiculous things. But yeah, it's this psychosis it kind of created on everybody. That's why it's such an effective horror movie, and I will argue to death that this is a horror film. And it's a horror film that does turn into kind of an adventure film at a certain point, but still has
Yeah.
horror elements near the end. It kind of reverts back to horror near the end. But I mean, there's a good chunk of this movie where, after we've had these horrific scenes of, the Kittner kid getting killed, and the attacks in the pond, and the one guy getting his leg bit off, and lingering on things like that. We go on the offensive, and we band together, and it's like, well, let's go out and take care of this, before anybody else gets hurt. And it becomes this very much us going out on a hunt, and kind of has elements of Moby Dick, with Quint and his vendetta against sharks, as we find out in his brilliant USS Indianapolis monologue. For my money, one of the greatest monologues ever put to screen. I mean, just an amazing performance that I don't know how Robert Shaw did not get nominated for an Oscar. We talked about that, and on the was on Rank 'em with Malcolm, we talked about horror performances that deserved Oscar nominations, and I brought up Robert
Yeah.
Shaw from Jaws, and I'm just like,
Yeah, not
that
one of them
performance
got
alone,
nominated.
not a single. I can make an argument for any of the three, but if you're gonna make for one, Robert Shaw, especially for that Indianapolis monologue, is just so haunting and so perfect, and just so well built, and just tells such an amazing story. And you kind of understand why he became who he became, just hunting these sharks all the time, and trying to kill every single one of them he could find. You know what I mean? Like, to account for all of his buddies that were, killed. And you kind of get it, and it's a great way to, again, to do dialogue and expand on characters. And it's just so brilliant, man. Like, this movie just chock full of amazing moments, like, left and right.
Yeah, and I think the main reason I like this movie so much is like, yeah, it definitely is a horror movie. And I think it does my favorite thing in horror that I'm discovering is that it's the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
You
What's
know it's a
listen,
shark. You know it's a shark, but you don't know like
where it is?
how big the shark is, where the shark
It's
is.
an ocean. Oceans are big.
Yeah.
Where is it at any given time? I don't know. You could probably swim around in the ocean. You'd be just fine. Or you could get in one day and it'd be there. Much like we talked about in Halloween. Where's Michael Myers? I don't know. He could be in this person's house. He could be across the street. He could be behind the fence. He could be, he's the boogeyman. He could be anywhere,
Mhm.
and that's what makes that movie scary. It's yeah,
You
it's that.
realize how many similarities there were between these two
Oh
movies.
no, John Carpenter's a
Yeah,
big fan of Jaws. He
yeah.
knows, he knows. He just put it into kind of more of a human form, But it's essentially what it is. But yeah, like it's that that fear of the unknown and what could happen and the veracity of these things. And I think another thing, Jacob, that he does brilliantly, and he actually got a little bit of this from Francis Ford Coppola, because Spielberg and Coppola, George Lucas, all these guys kind of hung out together and were
Mhm.
buddies on the different lots and stuff in the early 70s. They used to play pool together and stuff. There's stuff on that Spielberg documentary on HBO that they did where they talk about that. These guys used to hang
Okay,
out
I'll
all
have
the
to watch
time,
that.
share ideas and all kinds of stuff. But one thing that Coppola did in The Godfather that Spielberg kind of adopted for Jaws is that each kind of kill or memorable sequence has something in it that you remember, some little detail. And in Godfather, a lot of the people that are killed in The Godfather, it's like the guy who gets strangled in the car, the take the cannolis line. So you remember the cannolis and the guy in the car, right? Or Mo Green who gets shot in the eye near the end, like through the glasses, like that's very memorable. Or there's certain little details that make you remember things. So if you think about the stuff in this movie, Jacob, the opening sequence, what does it have? It has that buoy, dinging back and forth, after she
Mhm.
grabs it and, her screaming, it's very, very memorable. The Kittner boy has the raft, that yellow raft, right? That you see that then floats back, to the thing all kind of all bloody and cut up, right? So you remember the raft. The pond sequence, it has the guy who gets eaten when he's coming up checking on the kids, and it has like his little rowboat and the leg. You remember the leg because like you see that
Mhm.
leg float to the bottom, that severed leg, right? There's those things. And you get later to the people who die, on the boat with Hooper and Quint. Now, Quint, is obviously very memorable. He literally gets eaten, up to the chest, and he spits out the blood and all. Like, but each death has something that you connect with that you remember specifically, so you could piece by piece put it together. And that's what's another brilliant thing about this movie is just everything that sticks with you through this. And like I said, just the I could even have a movie of just Hooper and Brody just like hanging out, even the stuff where they're just having dinner, and just drinking wine and nerding out about sharks. I think Richard Dreyfuss is kind of the quintessential movie nerd in this movie. He's one of the earliest movie nerds, but he's kind of a cool nerd. He knows his stuff. He can defend himself when he needs to and blows up when he needs to. And they both agree on something, so they get along because they both want to stop this thing, kind of for different reasons, but they want to stop it. And oh my God, Murray Hamilton as the mayor is so great, so oblivious. Just I mean,
Yeah,
we need summer dollars, And
he's one of those characters. It's like you're dumb, but I get why you're doing it. Like
yeah,
you,
but that's the thing that Spielberg
like I
does though is
understand you
you understand his point of view though as the
as
mayor.
the man. Yeah,
He has to look out for an entire town, and to him it's like even if two people are dead and he's still not convinced it's a shark, he's like, well, you do what you got to do to make it safe, but we're going to be open for business, because he's looking out for the town. This town relies on summer tourism, and they
Mhm.
need that to survive because in the wintertime they don't get tourism because it's too
Right.
cold. And it's like they need that to survive. Literally, it's like squirrels, gathering up the nuts for the wintertime. It's literally what it is. And he has to think about that, but then he has that great moment after the everything happens on the beach on the 4th of July, and he's kind of pacing around kind of biting his fingernails, and my kids are on that we're on that beach too, Brody. And I was doing what was best for the town. I was doing what was best for the town, like looking out for the best interest, like you kind of feel for the guy, like people, it didn't turn out well for some people, but he was doing what he thought was right at the time, so you kind of get it. But that's what Spielberg does is great. He's not a completely hateable guy. You see where every character is coming from. You see where Quint is coming from when he's kind of goes off the deep end at the end. He just is losing it, and just ready to kill this damn shark. You see everybody's perspective. It's pretty great, like the way they flesh out all these characters.
Yeah, and that's one area that I don't think this movie gets talked about enough is the script and the screenplay.
Yes.
Like we talk about like the directing and we talk about the performances and the shark, but like, I think this is a well written
Really
movie
well-written
that
movie.
doesn't. I don't think that aspect gets enough credit.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of really subtle exposition really setting up these characters because like I said, with script wise, I mean, think of the opening stuff we get with Brody, at home with his family, with Mrs. Brody, the little things where they're talking about the differences between, New York and, Amity, like too far from the car, like you get to this thing that he's a New York cop who's transferred here. He doesn't really love the water, but he's here and he's a New York guy, so he's a city guy, so he's an outsider, on this thing. But he's the chief now.
Which is funny because I think Long Island was another was a choice to a filming location choice for this movie too.
Yeah, no, but it works out so much better in this in these kind of Hamptons, areas up there, in New England. It just works so much better because you just get that kind of small community feel to it, like you really do.
That really works.
Stuff. Yeah, you get that island feel, and a lot of the people in this movie, Jacob, were locals. A lot of the people who pop up throughout the movie, all those fishermen guys, when the bounty gets put on the shark, and you get all that scene with all the fishermen, the yahoos kind of going out on the boats, overloading the boats and throwing dynamite in the water and all that stuff. And you get the kooky, weird locals that are talking to themselves, or the guys that are like, "Oh, what?" Like all those guys. Like those were all locals. Those weren't even actors. They're just people, that hung around there that they kind of employed on the movie. And a lot of people on the beach scenes are all locals. A lot of the kind of, because they don't look like movie stars. A lot of these people, they look like real people because they were, and that's what was great about them. But yeah, I mean, you really get a feel for this town, and like I said, through the dialogue, quickly you get that he's kind of this guy that's coming in, and he doesn't quite understand, like the mayor does, like how much they rely on, those couple of weekends, to really for everybody to make a living, the motels, the rental things, the hardware stores, whatever it is, they rely on this stuff. And Hooper has his little, things where you get that he's kind of he wants to be like he came from a rich family, but he kind of wants to be a regular guy, but he's not, and he knows boats, and he and Quint, in their little interactions, knows that he's a rich kid, but kind of slowly gains his respect as he sees that he can handle, a boat and knows his way around a boat. It's just so great the way it kind of develops and the way all the characters kind of come together. It's why I could watch a movie of just these characters kind of running around together, even without a shark. Like that's the sign of a great movie. So when you can take the shark out of it, and I can still watch these guys just do stuff around town. That's the sign of a great movie.
Right. Yeah. I don't. It's one of those movies where it's hard to find a flaw.
Yeah.
Because there really isn't.
No. I think the shark looks good. I've never understood the complaints about the shark. I think the shark looks pretty damn good most of the scenes we see it when it works. I mean, that scene where he comes out of the water for the first time, in the Brody scene, I think it looks great. I think it was really scary. And, sure, it looks like a big robot when it literally like almost jumps on top of the back of the boat, right before Quint's, death scene, and it's kind of, lands on it or whatever. But I like it because it's a movie shark. It's not a real shark.
Right. Yeah. It's in the 70s.
It's in the 70s. It's a movie. Hey, listen, the shark they have for this one looks better than the one Jaws of Revenge. I'll tell you that right now. And that was 12 years later. Yeah. We'll get there, but oh my God, that one looked terrible. Like really, really bad. But yeah, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that the shark really only worked some of the time, and Spielberg had to get creative and really do something special with that, because he was planning on using the shark most of the movie. All those scenes where we see the other things, you were going to see the shark through the whole movie. It just wouldn't have worked as well.
Yeah, it's like I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how much
different it would be if it actually did. Yeah,
because if you see it too much, then it's like, oh, okay, well, there's the shark again.
Yeah, I mean, you get
When
those
that first time you see it is like over halfway
oh, it's like an hour
into
into
the
the movie.
movie.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh shoot. And then you don't
Yeah.
see it that much more. And like, but you know it's there. And yeah, that's just that fear of the unknown, like not know like I said, not knowing where it is or where it's coming from. Just
Just those shots of like anytime the movie gets to a point where anytime you get a camera shot of people's legs just kicking in the water, people just waiting kind of in the water, you go, was that the shark? Is that the shark? Is the shark around? Oh my god, the shark's coming! Here it comes! Like you sit up in your seat. You're oh
you gotta get your
here we
feet
go.
out of the
Yeah,
water.
you gotta get out of the water,
Stop banging in those
and
feet.
it's great. People's reactions are great. When the stuff starts going down, it's very natural, very panicky. Um, yeah, I mean, it's brilliant stuff all around, man. The editing, the direction of everything, man. Yeah, I have a hard time finding a flaw with this movie. I think it's a pretty damn perfect movie. If you ask me.
I'd have to agree with that. You speaking of editing, there was someone ranked it as like one of the best edited movies
I think it's pretty perfectly
ever.
paced. Yeah, because I mean, there's not 10 minutes that goes by without something significant happening, but in a natural way, not like it feels like a beat. We have to hit like a slasher movie. There's like
Mhm.
like corny slasher movies where you gotta have a death like every 10 minutes. It's not like that in this movie. But I don't ever feel bored in this thing. There's always something happening. We get that great opening. From then on, it's Brody trying to protect the beaches. It's the interactions between him and the mayor. It's we're getting ready for the festivities. Then we introduce Hooper, so Hooper kind of brings a new dynamic to it. Hooper wants to investigate this. We get the men going out to try to catch the Kittner shark. We get the big Fourth of July sequence, and then again after that the movie pivots from the horror thing to the adventure, and we almost start like a whole new movie. And then
Yeah,
we're out on the ocean with just these three guys. And one of the great things, Jacob, is a lot of movies before then we're just shooting a tank, on like a set, with the backdrop. And Spielberg insisted on shooting out in the open water, which created a lot of problems for cameras, mechanical equipment that doesn't work because you get salt in it and it doesn't work very well. And it causes a lot of issues, especially in the 70s. Not as sophisticated equipment. But, he insisted because it felt isolated. And these guys feel isolated, when they're
mhm.
out there, when they get into trouble, they're all alone and it's just them against this thing. And the thing finds them and it feels like it's hunting them. And yeah, and you feel that kind of panic when things start to go wrong. Yeah, they get some shots in on them. There's some hopeful stuff where we feel like we're chasing it, we're getting the good of it, and then we run out of ideas and we run out of options, and he keeps coming back for more. And it's like, what do we do with this thing? It's like the Terminator. It just keeps coming back
Right.
for more. We can't stop it. No matter what we do, man, we jab this thing. We're shooting darts and we're shooting barrels in it, and won't hold him down. He's tearing up the boat. He's pulling at the boat. He's going under the boat. All this stuff. And what do we do, man? We don't know. But when it all said and done, and one of the great climactic sequences and great climactic lines this side of get away from her, you bitch. Another bitch line, an iconic bitch line. Smile, you son of a bitch, as he shoots the tank and it blows up. Oh, it's so great. So triumphant, man, when Brody gets that shot, man.
Oh
One of the
yeah,
great final things ever. It just amazing. Love
yeah,
this. Love this movie. This movie's awesome.
yeah. I found it. It was in 2012. The Motion Picture Editors Guild listed the film as the eighth best edited film of all time. Based on the survey of its membership.
Yeah.
And then in 2006, which again baffles me as to why the screenplay wasn't even considered for a nomination. Maybe it was considered and it just didn't make the cut. But in 2006, its screenplay was ranked the 63rd best of all time by the Writers Guild of America. But it
Yeah.
wasn't one of the five for
Five nominated that year.
1975.
I know. I have to I'm looking up the thing too on Wikipedia to see yeah, I mean, okay. You get Best Picture. It's like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That's a great movie.
Yeah, like
I get
I
it.
have no problem with that.
I
Like,
get it. Dog Day Afternoon. Holy shit, is a great movie. Like Barry Lyndon. I don't love it, but I know some people love it. It's a Kubrick movie. They were kind of giving Kubrick his due after they kind of snubbed him for stuff like 2001.
mm,
I haven't seen Nashville, but I know
I
people love
haven't
Robert
either.
Altman. But it
Yeah.
looks like a pretty stacked year, so I get it. And Jaws was kind of the popular choice. And they went with the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest thing. Director. yeah, I don't know how you don't. I don't even know. Yeah, you nominate Fellini for AmeriCorps. I've never seen it.
Never
I
even
don't,
heard of it until just
never
now.
even heard of it. Yeah, I mean, you slide Spielberg in there at least. Yeah, I mean, I could understand maybe not nominating Roy Scheider, but yeah, come on, supporting actor. How do you not slide in Robert Shaw in there, man? Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You got to slide him in there. Yeah, screenplay. Again, Dog Day Afternoon wins. I get it, but I've never seen Shampoo.
Yeah,
Never
bye.
seen And Now My Love. I've never seen that
Yeah.
Fellini movie. It's or I guess it would be adapted. So adapted would be some of these other ones, but even some of these other
Okay.
movies I've never even seen. So I mean, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest wins. I get it, but like I've never seen Profumo de Donna or The Sunshine Boys. Slide it in there, make it happen. But yeah, it's
Yeah, and
hey, at least he won for score. At least John
right.
Williams won for score.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least.
Which and this one editing.
Yes.
Yeah, so score and editing,
Sound design.
sound.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
The sound was really good in this movie.
Yeah, editing. Yeah, Verna Fields is a great editor who edited this movie. She's done a lot of great editing work over the years. She's kind of a legend. Um, yeah, they call it. I think they heard some podcast where they were talking. They used to call her the cut lady or something like that because she was just so good at her job at cutting things and all that. So, yeah, she's really good. But yeah, I mean, looking back on it, you see the impact that it had, and we
Right.
talked about movies that have impact and that have legacy, and that's certainly just one of them.
Yeah, and it's easy to say that this now, and
Of
maybe
course.
back then, like it was different because obviously we weren't alive in
It may
1975.
have been a thing, Jacob, as simple as, oh, we're not going to nominate that shark movie. Like even though everybody in the planet was seeing it at the time, and was
Yeah,
loving it, and it was,
like it's like
it
the
was
same thing in
massive.
2000. We're not going to nominate that superhero movie.
Right? The whatever movies, like these, yeah, we're not going to nominate that because it's just some animal movie. Like we're going to nominate the movie with acting and based on plays and all that kind of stuff. Like I get it, but yeah, sometimes you got to go with the one that's well made and the
Mm-hmm.
popular choice, and really really good. But yeah, I mean, I think this movie has obviously cemented its legacy, as many theaters would be showing it all the time as, I was able to just stroll down the street and go watch it, this week just
Right.
randomly, like there's a reason for that. They're not just showing it randomly. It's because, this movie works. And yeah, it continues to live on and on. And yeah, I can't wait to see. I'm sure there will be somewhere, Jacob, on the 50th anniversary, if you have to go in town or whatever, somebody will be showing Jaws on a theater. I can guarantee
Oh,
that.
I'm sure
I
of it.
can
Yeah.
almost guarantee that.
Yeah, I just wish it was the one that was just right down the road for me.
Right. The one that you didn't have to get on a bus to
Maybe
go see.
even if it's just one day, I will make sure to
Yeah.
clear my schedule for that one day.
Yeah.
And go see it on the big screen.
So I guess we have to. I don't want to, but I guess we have to talk about
Well, I
this.
mean, the next, the next one, the direct sequel. I think this one
It's okay. It's just
yeah,
unnecessary. It's
it's
okay.
okay. So if Jaws is the original summer blockbuster, is Jaws 2 the original cash grab?
Kinda, because that's sort of what it was. Is yeah, the Universal people. This movie. I think Jaws ended up making like something like over $200 million, which again at the time was like $1 billion now. I mean,
Yeah, I think worldwide,
yeah.
I think, and this might be including like re-releases and
It's
everything.
probably including repertory screenings
Um,
and re-releases and
yeah,
stuff.
right now, as of now, it's at 476.5
I think
million.
originally it made like something like $200 million, something like that. But at the time, that was huge. Like that was a massive, massive hit. Like again, like we said, highest grossing movie of all time. Up, only to be eclipsed 2 years later by Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars would eclipse it 2 years later.
Yeah, it says in its initial release, it ultimately brought in 123.1 million in rentals. Theatrical re-releases in 76 and summer of 79 brought its total to 133.4.
Yeah,
And I think that's just but that's just in the United States, not including overseas.
yeah, it had some overseas stuff too. But yeah, this movie was a lot of money back then, like a lot of money.
Yeah,
And
on a budget of 9 million.
$9 million. Yeah, I think they made some money. So needless to say, yeah, the people at Universal wanted a sequel. I know that they approached Spielberg. He said no because he was off. He wanted to do other things. I think he went off and made Close Encounters.
Yeah,
Become a big hit, and a big critical success as well. Good on him. He wanted to make his Alien movie. His first movie, Amblin, his company is based on a kind of a UFO alien short he made when he was a kid called Amblin. So that's why Amblin is called his studio. So, he'd always envisioned doing a big budget, like, Close Encounters, sort of extraterrestrial movie, which he would go on to do that in ET. So it's kind of a combination of the two. But yeah, like he went on to make Close Encounters, and good on him. He wanted to go make his passion project. Cool. And he had a blank check from Jaws. Hey, you made us a whole lot of money. What do you need, Steven Spielberg? What do you want to do next? I want to go make my Alien movie. Cool. Sounds good. Go make your Alien movie. So yeah, they kind of not like rushed it into production, but they basically ordered a sequel. Yeah, the guy they got to do it, I think he was like some French guy. It's Jeanotte's work or something like that. Yeah, and I was watching a lot of the behind the scenes stuff on the Blu-ray, and he's a legitimately pretty talented director. I mean, he cared about doing some cool, inventive, technical stuff. I will say this movie has some cool technical, like, camera work, some good attack scenes when we actually get the attack stuff with the shark.
Yeah,
especially in the second half with the kids on the sailboats and stuff like that. There's some legitimately like pretty good attack scenes and stuff. You know what I mean? Just the problem is it doesn't have the character work. It doesn't have the memorable characters. I mean, you got Brody back, but like he's just kind of there. He's not really even. He's there, but like the kids kind of become the main characters, for most of the movie, especially the second half. Brody's just kind of playing catch up the whole time instead of playing, going on the offensive. Yeah, we have a few of the ancillary characters back. The mayor's back. His deputy guy is back. The people that you recognize, but they're just kind of hanging around. It's kind of a retread. It's like we don't really believe Brody that there's another shark. We don't have enough evidence. That boat, Jacob, with the water skier blew up. We don't know it was a shark. Could have been a malfunction. It's kind of a lot of the retread of the same things, and just is like. It just doesn't have that magic of the first one of just like that build up, the anticipation. We know what it is. So like, we're not, when things happen, we know it's a shark. We know what it looks like, we know what it is. And yeah, we just don't have any connection to the characters other than like, we kind of understand that one of his kids or, his two sons are out on the sailboats. That's about it. Mike and Sean, who kind of become the weird like centerpiece characters for the rest of the franchise, which is very odd.
Yeah, well, I have
thoughts about
that.
Yeah, right.
It's weird.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, this one it's like, hey, let's just take all the good things that worked, but then we're not gonna do them as good.
Just not as good. Not bad,
but
just not as good. It's
mean, in comparison to the next two, this is also a masterpiece.
Oh, right. No, I mean, you watch this and then you watch like Jaws: The Revenge, and you're like, man, there's some good shit going on in Jaws too, man. That guy did some good camera work. There's some good effects. There's some good, close calls with the mechanical shark. Like, they did some good stuff. Like, there's some legitimately pretty. I wouldn't say like terrifying scenes. There's some thrilling sequences. I would say some of the sailboat stuff is pretty good. There's some.
I do think they definitely picked it up in the second half. I think
the second half is way better than the first. I think the first half kind of drags in this movie.
Yeah.
It takes
once
forever
on the water.
Once the kids go out on the water and the big group of sailboats, I think it kind of picks up because at least then they're kind of isolated again. They're getting attacked over and over again. You have some cool stuff where they introduce like the little helicopter, which is cool, and the shark takes out the helicopter and the blades kind of get chopped up and get thrown everywhere. Like, that stuff is cool. There's some good stuff, with them back and forth and trying to huddle the sailboats together with the ropes and stuff. Like, they're trying to do what they can. Like, I think there's some decently engaging stuff there. I just think the first half, there's nothing that really hooks you in as far as like, other than the fact that it's like we're back in Amity again with some of the same characters, and kind of following up. We don't even do a lot with Brody though. Like, they kind of hint. He doesn't even really hint that he has like any kind of after effects from this thing, or any kind of like PTSD or anything. Like, we never really deal with that. We just kind of dance around it, like in Jaws: The Revenge, saying that he did have that and it killed him. Like, that's weird. Stuff like it's just. He does his job. Roy Scheider's fine for what he's doing. He's a working actor. Like, he does a decent job for what he's given. He's just not given a lot,
He seems he seems almost like disinterested. Like
he was. They
I'm doing this while Richard Dreyfuss gets to do Close Encounters with.
No, they backed the money truck up to his house. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they paid him. He did it for the paycheck. But don't get me wrong. I think he's fine in the movie. He tries. Like, he's a working actor.
Yeah.
He definitely puts an effort into it. But the story is basically they delivered a big briefcase of money to his house, and he did the movie, but he never did the other
Money
ones. He
talks.
said, I'll do this one, but no, I'll take care of my mortgage, for my house and some other things, and I'll do your one sequel, but I won't do anything else. But technically speaking, there's some good stuff. The movie was a hit. This one made money too. I mean, it was a big sequel to a big movie.
I was just reading it was the highest grossing sequel until Rocky 2.
Yeah. I mean, the movie made money. You can't say that it didn't. It was technically a success. But it was
they would do a third one.
But it was a very expensive movie, cost 3 times as much as the original. But it ended up still making worldwide like $200 million. It made a lot of money. So you can't say it wasn't a success.
It made a profit.
They were happy, for what it was, which is why the series kept going, past Jaws 2. And again, I just don't have a lot to say about Jaws 2. Again, there's a couple of good action sequences, but it's fine. It's fine.
I like the finale. I think it was the way that they finally got the shark.
Yeah, the electrical line and all that. That's fun.
Cool. But yeah,
I like the fact he's got like a half burned face from like the earlier explosion. Like I like that. I like some of the design stuff, and but again, Brody's kind of, even in the second half, just kind of wandering around on that boat, just trying to find the kids, and it's just like you kind of want Brody to be in on the action, and he kind of doesn't really get in on the action to the last 10 minutes or so, it's like you want him to be right there front and center, and he's kind of not. So, yeah.
But yeah, it made money, which is why we got this one.
Which is why we almost got a parody. Did you read that story, Jacob?
No, I did not.
So we almost got a parody instead of a Jaws 3. So we almost got a movie called, and there's a pretty infamous story to it, called Jaws 3 People Zero, which was going to be a parody, like almost like an airplane style parody of Jaws. So, but think about this: it's 3 years after Airplane. These spoof movies are kind of starting to come into, the Zucker stuff is starting to take off. They go like, hey. And they were kind of self-aware. They said, well, we had the great movie. We had the follow-up that made money, but it's like, what else can we really do? Another shark in another place? Like, what are we going to do? Let's do a parody movie. And Steven Spielberg said, over my dead body, you're doing a parody movie of my movie. And so Steven Spielberg had that power at the time. Again, this is a year after he makes E.T. and once again becomes the biggest grossing movie of all time. So he's got even more power. You know what I mean? And after Raiders as well. So he'd had Raiders and E.T. So he's like, yeah, I'm the biggest dog in Hollywood right now. Yeah, you're not touching my movie and you're not making a parody. And so they said, okay, well, what do we do now? Well, all right, we still want to do a sequel because these movies are profitable. So we hired Joe Alves, I think. He's a production designer on the first 2 movies. So he's associated with this one, but he's never directed before. This is the only movie he ever directed, was this movie right here. You can kind of tell it's not the greatest directed movie you ever saw. It's serviceable at points, but it's not very great. We get a few people young actors who go on to become big stars. Dennis Quaid was not a name at the time, but Dennis Quaid's had a career. Leah Thompson's in this movie, her first movie. She goes on to do Back to the Future. Cool. You get Lou Gossett Jr. A year before, he wins an Oscar for An Officer and a Gentleman. He's a pretty big get. Yeah. Not very good in this movie.
No.
But he's good in An Officer and a Gentleman. Goes again to my theory, Jacob, that every Oscar winner does a crummy movie right afterwards. We could do a whole show about that. There's all kinds of people that
win. I can only imagine the movie Adam Sandler would do if he were to ever win an Oscar.
Could it be worse than Jack and Jill? I think he's already made his worst movie. I don't know. But and then they go, what can we do to try to drive in more audiences? Well, this 3D thing seems to be taking off. There was Friday the 13th 3D. We had Amityville 3D. We had some re-releases of some old 50s movies in 3D, House of Wax, things like that. Well, let's do it in 3D. Well, that creates a problem because now we got to film with 2 cameras because the 2 cameras have to come together to make the 3D. And, everything costs twice as much because you're essentially filming everything almost twice. And it doesn't look very good. As you probably saw, the 3D things are very, very obviously in 3D.
It does not translate to a good
to a 2D, home viewing. It even, they talked about this even on one of the YouTube videos I watched about it. It even causes blurriness on the sides of the screens. I don't know if you noticed. It's very
apparent.
It's very apparent. Yeah. So, and that's a part of the 2 camera like 3D thing is then when you watch it in 2D, it creates like a blurry thing on the sides, outside the main picture. So yeah, it doesn't translate very well. You can watch a 3D version of this on that Blu-ray, Jacob, if you have those old school 3D glasses, those paper ones. The red and blue.
Unfortunately, I don't have.
But actually, in the bonus features, you can watch a true 3D version of it if you want to. So at least that's available if you choose. Not that it would make this movie any better, because
not that I would want to rewatch this.
This movie still stinks, and mainly because if I have to choose, and we'll get to it in a second, Jaws 4 or Jaws 3 to rewatch, I choose Jaws 4, and I'll tell you why. Because at least Jaws 4 is silly and stupid. Jaws 3 is just boring for most of the movie, and I don't like. I'd rather watch silly bad than boring bad, and Jaws 3D is boring bad, especially that first hour.
For the first hour, I was like, "Is there any point to this? Is there any actual
going to happen?" Yes.
Yeah. Any storyline going on?
No, it's we're 3 days away from opening SeaWorld. Are you having fun yet? No. And there's a shark that isn't even really the shark because it turns out it's the baby shark. And the kid shark and all the attack scenes, if you remember, Jacob, are nothing. Like it literally one guy by the gate just gets pulled under the water and that's all you see. And we just got to the next scene. It's nothing. Another person gets pulled under. It's nothing. There's nothing memorable about them. Nothing at all. And then you find out an hour into the movie, we take the one into custody, essentially into captivity, and then it dies. So Big Mama Shark comes and starts terrorizing everybody. And then it kind of picks up a little bit. I'll give it credit. There's one sequence where there's kind of a general panic, where it's going after the different water skiers and there's some general panicky people running all over the place and trying to get people out of the water. It gets exciting for a few minutes. And then you get the people in the little tunnel things underneath, the little aquatic tunnels, and they get kind of stuck in that middle thing, and it's interesting, but they don't do anything with it. They get trapped in the middle thing, and we kind of forget about them for 15 minutes, and then we're like, oh yeah, we got to let them out. I guess we should flip a switch.
By the way,
yeah, we should probably let those people out. Oh, flip a switch, flip that thing. We drain the water. Okay, bye. And we don't do anything with that. So, and then you get the big 3D finale with the infamous shot of the really bad 3D shark going and hitting the glass and doing the 3D glass at the screen and it kind of those really bad shots of the tail moving back and forth as it's kind of stuck in the in the chamber and the grenade blowing, and it's all there, but you just don't care. It's just not good. This for me is the worst one of the series, only because I can't really have a lot of fun with this movie, other than some of the side effects.
It's I just so boring and all this stuff underwater in that last 20 minutes or whatever. It's so dark too. It's hard to see what's going on most of the time.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! And I knew from the opening credits where the 3D oh my goodness,
where all the credits are in the 3D shooting at the screen.
That's how the whole movie's gonna look.
Yeah. And then the shark blows up at the end and they do the goofy stuff where the teeth are hovering in front of the screen and all that goofy shit that because I've seen a version on video of Friday the 13th 3D in 3D, and it's all the same shit where stuff just sits in front of the camera for a second, or literally they do the same thing in this one that they did in Friday the 13th 3D, where Jason at one point does a bow and arrow and the arrow awkwardly kind of shoots towards the screen. They do another thing where the harpoon kind of goes towards the screen awkwardly and shakily because it's on a line, going towards the screen. It's really bad. It's not good.
I'm gonna have to watch it now. I'm gonna have to watch Friday the 13th Part 3.
Oh, you'll see literally, because Friday the 13th Part 3 was in 1982. It was right before this thing, and you'll see the same things in that movie where it's people are there's infamous stuff where one guy yo-yos where the camera's on the ground looking up, and one guy's yo-yoing right into the camera, and Jason literally, like I said, shoots a bow and arrow, and the thing is on a fishing line, so it goes awkwardly, kind of sputters towards the camera, and guys are shoving things this towards the camera. It's just it's really really bad. Yeah,
is the blurriness still there?
No, because they do have an actual version where it's not like
Okay.
blurry because they cleaned it up for like a 2D, but you can watch a version, I think, even in that set of 3D. Like you
Yeah,
can
it
watch.
says 3D on it, so I
Yeah,
would
you
think so.
can. But yeah, it's that same type of 3D where it's just stuff lingering in the shot. Like it's not good. Like
Mm,
it's not the depth, CG 3D that we have kind of now, It's like really
yeah.
hokey 3D, is what it was. Yeah.
And then we get to the final one.
Oh, the grand finale,
Uh,
my favorite. This
Jaws the
movie,
Revenge, starring the
boy,
great Michael Caine.
no, starring the great
Um,
Lorraine Gary, Mrs.
yeah,
Brody in the main
which
role. I was like, what?
which
What are we?
apparently just forgets everything that happened in Jaws 3D because Michael looks younger and
Yeah, well,
Sean is,
Sean looks the same age, but like Mike looks. Well,
which
it just
that's
seems like none of them reference at all the fact that they happened to be at SeaWorld when a giant shark attacked everybody at SeaWorld. Like no mention is made of that,
yeah.
or no, we just ignore that movie. That movie just
And we
never
didn't
happened.
even, we didn't even mention this, but Jaws 3D. It was 5 years later, but apparently they aged like 12 years.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
what?
No, no, I don't
And
know.
then, I what?
None of it makes any sense.
And then
Yeah,
this one they de-aged by like five
yeah,
years.
Mike is off in the Bahamas, like doing stuff, but like, and now Sean is somehow the chief or what is he, or the sheriff?
He's
What the
either
fuck?
the yeah, he's either the chief or he's yeah, he's in some position of authority within the police.
Deputy, maybe
But
not the chief. He might be the deputy or something. I don't know. But yeah, like he gets eked out of this movie like immediately. 10 minutes in the movie, like like, well, you're a Brody. We're gonna bite your arm off really awkwardly and not
sorry.
know, and then you're gonna get eaten somehow because all we see is like flashes of the shark because it's really awkwardly edited. So we don't even tell what the hell actually happened. We just know the shark did something to him, and all of a sudden he doesn't have an arm anymore. I don't know, and then he gets eaten. Yeah, I don't know. And then we follow Mrs. Brody because everybody wanted to see Mrs. Brody as the main character of this movie.
What a movie to end your career on.
And look, Lorraine Gary, and she's fine in the original movie. You know what I mean? Like, I like her chemistry with Brody in that original movie. When she has those little moments with him where, like, she hands him a drink, and, like, lays in his lap. It's just like, you want to get drunk and fool around? And he's like, yeah. And, like, there's some good little chemistry between the two. You know what I mean? Like, they have a nice little camaraderie. And it's fine. But she's good as a side character. She's perfectly fine, as that wife character. And, like, in this one, she's just not good. Like, she's not a leading actress. The story is that she was married to the Sid Sheinberg who ran Universal at the time. So he literally like said, "You're going to make her the star of this movie. Mrs. Brody is going to be the main character," and that's what it is. Because even Lance Guest at the time, who plays Mike, had come off of Last Starfighter, which is kind of an underground hit. He was he wasn't like a big name, but he had done some 80s movies. He'd done some stuff. Mario Van Peebles wasn't really a star yet. He would kind of go on to other things in the 90s. But he's the kind of what are you doing out there, Mike? He sounds like Sebastian from Little Mermaid. I'm gonna get this bird. We're gonna research it real good. Yeah, like it's just very like silly, but at least he has some energy in the movie. Something. I mean, he's got something.
He does, yeah. He's cool.
Michael Caine is fun to watch at least.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I think he's trying. He's hokey, which is stupid, but he's this pilot who kind of, for whatever reason, likes Mrs. Brody. I don't know. Okay. Like they have a half-assed romance in this movie, which goes nowhere. Just
I think Michael Caine learned from this, and this is why he does so great in Muppet Christmas Carol. It's like no matter how silly the premise is, I'm gonna give an Oscar worthy performance, no matter how silly the premise is, including a great white shark traveling from
from New
Amity,
England,
New England to the Bahamas.
over 1,200 miles in 3 days from New England to the Bahamas, which even most ships can't do that most of the time. You know what I mean? But the shark does it. And I'll tell you this: have you heard the story behind what the bigger plot was in the novelization as to the explanation for that? Because they make it seem like the shark is on like some personal vendetta in this movie, right? hence the revenge. The tagline, this time it's personal. You
Yeah.
know, the shark is hunting down the Brody family, has some kind of vendetta, right? Well, in the novelization, there is a voodoo priest that puts a curse on the shark, or puts a curse on the Brody family, and uses the shark as the conduit to take out the Brody family. Why does this voodoo guy doesn't like the Brody family? He has something against Mike that we never explore in the movie, but it's in the novelization. So it's a voodoo shark. That's how it explains how it can survive in the warm water, even though great white sharks should not be able to do that because that's not the climate they swim in and survive in. They survive in cold water. And yeah, how it got there so fast and how it knows where the Brodies are all the time.
Right.
And, can just find them and keep doing silly things like chase them through a downed shipwreck or something, through every single room, which is stupid. Don't get me wrong, it's hilarious. It's a hilarious scene. It's funny. It's really funny and baffling, but it's stupid.
Yeah, there's just so many choices made in this movie that I'm just like, why? Like, none of my family is going to be by the water. Hey, why don't you come to the Bahamas with us?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Like, no, you just and how are we going to get there? Well, we got to go on a ferry first, so we're going to go on the water,
right,
to get to our home in the Bahamas, which is on the water, and we're going to live by the water, and you're going to play with your granddaughter by the water, even though you don't want to be by the water.
Right. And you're going to let her go out on the banana boat on the water, even though you'd think there's a shark out on the water. And,
and apparently she remembers things that happened, even though she wasn't actually there.
Oh, yeah. No, she has flashbacks to the beginning of the movie, to Sean's death, which she wasn't present for. She has flashbacks to, Brody shooting the shark, which she wasn't there for. She has flashbacks to almost everybody else's characters, where she had nothing to do with any of that. She was like at home during all this stuff, and yet she has flashbacks to all this stuff, which makes no sense. They just say that Brody died off screen of a heart attack, which would make sense. A guy like that might have a history of heart attacks, and it wasn't uncommon for a guy in his 60s to die of a heart attack.
Smart for Roy Scheider.
But then they're like, he died because of the fear. I'm like, he didn't show a lot of fear in Jaws too, but okay.
Yeah, I think he handled it pretty well.
No, he was like, don't get me wrong, he had a sense of urgency, and he did not like having to battle a shark again. I'm sure he was scared at some points, but like, he didn't like not get in the boat to go save the kids even by himself. You know what I mean? Like, he did what he had to do. Like, it's not like, I don't think he had a crippling fear of these sharks, even the fact he defeated 2 of them in a row. Right. I'd say even as far as that goes, you got the advantage, don't you? You taking out 2 of these bastards. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, there's just silly stuff throughout the movie. Joseph Sargent, it's weird because he's the guy who directed this movie. He's not a bad director. If you look up his credits, he directed the original Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, which is a great movie. Speaking of Jaws, co-starring Robert Shaw and one of his other great performances as the villain of that movie. Good movie. He directed White Lightning, which is a good Burt Reynolds movie from '73. Like, he's a good director. And then, like, you see this movie and you're like, this movie's so just choppy and incompetent and like, and it just randomly, like, remember the first time you see the shark, just randomly it like swims through a scene and it looks really shitty, just like randomly, like it just looks like a Muppet, like like the goofy big gums and the big fake rubber teeth, and like this one looks fake. Like the one in the original movie looks way more real compared to this movie. This shark looks like shit in this movie, like pure dog shit.
And you're gonna tell me the first time you see a shark, your reaction is gonna just be like, oh. Like that's your reaction to seeing a shark in an area where a shark shouldn't be.
A great white's never been here. Oh man, this is great. Let's study him. Let's have a good time. We're gonna make some money. It's just like, what? You're not gonna.
Your mom's not gonna like it. But how about the safety of everyone else that lives there?
Yeah. Let's keep it a secret for a week. From this lady who's literally has said she thinks there's a shark coming to get her. That, Mike, because the shark is there and has attacked you multiple times, and yet you still refused to tell her, and then almost get your daughter killed because of it. Who goes out on
the guarantee that those 2 got a divorce?
Probably, yeah.
Which we don't see anything from. I don't think we see anything from the mom and the daughter anymore after
No, they just because
So,
once Ellen gets on that sailboat at the end, like we never see anybody else again, like ever.
yeah.
So they're leaving on the plane at the end, like they piece out of the movie. We just follow the main characters right after that. But yeah, we just go from scene to scene with like no connection, with no motivation, just vague talks about like I don't want you working down here anymore because you're near the water. Okay, Ellen, if you're so scared, why aren't you living in Nebraska right now? Why don't you live in the Midwest where no shark could ever possibly get you ever?
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, at least they explained that in Jaws 3, which I'll give him credit for that. Like Sean doesn't like to be by the water. Well, why do you think he goes to college in Colorado?
hey, because the only water there would probably be some streams and maybe a lake or whatever. Yeah, there's no
That's
sharks.
smart.
Yeah,
Like
he's a smart
I will
guy.
give the credit for that.
Yeah, smart man. But then he apparently goes right back to Amity and starts jumping in the water again. And
Yeah,
becomes the deputy because we ignore that movie and that movie just never happened. Yeah, it's just so silly and so stupid, and the effects are so bad. And this is one of those infamous movies, Jacob, that if you look it up has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
which is
Uh,
still too high.
Still too high. Yeah, it should be like
Oh
negative
my,
three.
yeah. I don't like. I know that people said like, yeah, there's it's silly and it's a fun bad, but I
I
didn't
think
get
it's
that
I
for me
even
personally.
today I was watching it and I was just more like baffled at like how incompetent it is. You know what I mean? So I was having a little fun with it in that aspect, just being like,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
this decision is wrong. That decision is wrong. That decision is wrong. That looks really bad. That looks really bad. That's really stupid. That's a bad line. That's another bad line. That's a bad character motivation. That's really stupid. Why are they doing that? Like everything is just. And then there's about the two endings. Did you read about the two endings on the Blu-ray? There's
no,
an alternate ending too. So there's two different
oh
endings
boy,
to this movie. Well, they're not that much
they got
different.
it wrong twice.
Yeah. So the original ending was that she stabs him with the mast of the ship. It's basically the same thing, but she just stabs him, and then the whole thing sinks. The shark sinks with the thing, through his thing, and Jake died. Mario Van Peebles died because obviously he's dead. Because dude is like completely consumed by that shark mouth and bleeding everywhere. He's dead. And then the alternate ending, because of the test screenings, instead, for some inexplicable reason, when they run the ship into the ending that you probably watched, it explodes. Why? Why does the shark just explode when she stabs it and impales it? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. And in the new ending, test audiences liked Jake, so he survives and he just floats back up to the surface after being under the water for like 10 minutes, by the way. It just floats back up to the surface and goes, "Hey, man, over here, give me a little
Yeah,
help." Okay,
that's
he's
that's
alive.
the ending I saw. So they must have added that into like.
No, they added that after they did a reshoots where they added that. Yeah, because people liked his character. Because
Yeah,
he was a peppy character, so I'm sure they liked him because he's
I
at
did.
least
Yeah,
trying to do something. Yeah.
I did like his energy, but yeah, like some of the choices they make, like they're just
No,
not good. So
no,
it's
it's
just
not
not a
good.
good
This
movie.
movie's not good. It's I'm not.
Clearly, it goes Jaws, and then we'll
No,
put Jaws
Jaws is
2
like
like right
further.
here.
Jaws is further up off the screen than I could ever reach, and like
Jaws, and then like Jaws 2, and then Jaws
Jaws
3 and
two,
4.
3 and 4, way down near the ground. Yeah, not good.
I'll take Y for 500, Alex.
And from here, the series died. But did you know that Deep Blue Sea was originally supposed to be Jaws 5?
I did not.
Okay. Have you seen Deep Blue Sea?
I have not.
Okay. So I'm not saying we have to watch it or anything. I'm just saying, are you familiar with Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah,
So,
I've
like,
heard it.
it's smart sharks, essentially, right? Okay. So in that movie, it's genetically altered kind of smart sharks in this lab, right? And Sam Jackson and Thomas Jane and LL Cool J, a bunch of these people like running around. And that movie was originally going to be conceived as Jaws 5. They considered it that it was going to be Jaws 5 involving smart sharks, and one of the characters might have even been related to the Brodies again, is what the conceit was. So it didn't happen, thank God. It just became a shark movie, directed by Rennie Harlan, and a fun one at that. It's not amazing, but it's fun for what it is.
Okay.
It's silly. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's kind of fun for what it is. If you ever see it, you ever catch it somewhere on streaming, not a bad 90-minute watch. It's fine. You'll have a good time. but it's not Jaws, obviously. No shark movie in history has never been Jaws, ever. The Meg, no. Deep Blue Sea, no. Open Water, no. The Shallows, pretty good, but no. 47 Meters Down, no. The Deep, no. Some of them are decent, but none will ever be top of Jaws. And there was a bunch of knockoffs of this movie in the 70s, just with different animals, grizzly, piranha.
Which I think was it Piranha that Steven Spielberg was like, that's the best of the ripoffs.
Yeah,
I think I read that somewhere.
Well, because Joe Dante made it, and he made it. Yeah. He kind of leaned into the silliness of it, and had some decently scary scenes, and did some okay stuff. Joe Dante's a good director. And there was Orca, the killer whale, which is a favorite of mine. It's a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a insane bad movie. If you ever get a chance to see it, it's literally about a killer whale, and it's Jaws just with the orca. But yeah, tons of knockoffs in the 70s. Obviously, there was a bunch of Italian movies, The Last Shark, that I have bootlegs of. Just really bad stuff. But yeah, it's a movie that you can't remake because it's never going to be as good.
No.
You don't even want to try because I don't care who makes it. I don't care if who's a great Jordan Peele makes it. It's not going to be as good as Jaws. It just isn't. It's a perfect film that has never been replicated or duplicated. It will forever be one of the greatest movies ever. Forever be one of my top 10 movies. Probably no matter how many times I watch it. This thing's never moving out of my top 10 ever. And it's pretty amazing if you can be somebody Spielberg and have like several movies in my top 25 or 30 movies.
Yeah, you just look at his body of work and
this Raiders, Jurassic Park, you know what I mean? These movies that will never ever leave my favorite movies of all time ever. It's pretty astonishing. So no matter how many movies come out, it's quite adeptly fallen, but at least we can always come back to Jaws and go, you know what? Damn, that's a classic. That's a good movie. And we'll always have that. Again, no matter how many knockoffs, remakes, sequels, whatever, they don't kill the original. The original is still amazing. It's still the shit.
Which is why I hate when people like speaking of remakes and stuff like, oh, they're ruining blah blah blah. Like, no, they're not ruining like that. I don't get irritated by a lot, but that is probably one of like my biggest pet peeves when it comes to movies is people saying, oh, they're ruining my childhood. Like, oh, I don't know. I'm sorry. Did that change the movie at all? Like, no. If anything, these bad remakes and bad ripoffs should make you appreciate it even more.
Because like I said, watch Jaws, The Revenge, and try not to say, holy shit, that original Jaws is a masterpiece. Man, that movie's good. Everything about that movie works and everything about that other movie doesn't work. Every single thing, and you just appreciate amazing filmmaking, simple filmmaking. Is it the flashiest movie with people flying around with lasers and, big world-ending consequences and, the biggest special effects you ever seen? No, it doesn't have to be because it has great characters, great screenplay, great cinematography, great setting, great filmmaking, great acting, top-notch acting all around. It's perfect in every way. It just is.
So
always will be.
Yeah.
It's the perfect summer blockbuster, you could say, Jacob. Really is.
Absolutely.
And it still works as evidence from 2 days ago when I saw it in the theater, and it still played to a crowd brilliantly as it did nearly 50 years ago.
Yeah. I'd love to see this. Set up a screen by a lake or something.
Oh, there are people who
watch it in their boats.
There are people who watch it like they'll set up. I've seen people have set up like pool screenings where they'll sit in tubes in a pool, and set up like one of those outdoor things at the end of the pool. That's fun because at least you're still kind of in the water, but you're safe.
Right.
Yeah.
No sharks coming up.
Yeah. I've seen that. People show it on cruise ships. I've seen it showed on cruise ships, so you're literally out in the ocean. So that's cool. But yeah, this thing still works, man. Just take a mental note, Jake. If you ever see it in the theater, the Ben Gardner sequence, I'm telling you, where the head comes through the little hole in the boat, and Richard Dreyfuss, screams, is one of the greatest jump scares in history. I dare you not to hear somebody scream in the theater when that happens, because guarantee somebody always does.
Yeah,
they always do. At least 3 people did in the theater the other day. It was great. It still works.
Oh, I'll keep that in mind, definitely. Yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, this has been a good discussion. Mostly positive because we do like to keep it mostly positive here. But every
Yeah.
once in a while, if we're talking about a franchise, no franchise is perfect, unfortunately, except for maybe Mission Impossible, which we'll get to in about a month or so.
Mission Impossible is close because I would argue, again, we won't get into it heavy, but I would argue even Mission Impossible 2, not a great Mission Impossible movie, but a pretty decent action movie. If you, I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen 1 and 2,
Yeah,
and I like both of them. So I, mean,
I
I
would
have to
still
get to
say
the
a good movie overall. So that might be about as close to a perfect franchise as you get, honestly. Yeah, I mean, Toy Story maybe.
next.
Hopefully, as long as they don't ruin it, with another one, we'll see.
Yeah, with number 5, we'll see.
Back to the Future. I like all 3 of those movies. They haven't ruined it yet.
True. I'm sure we could. Yeah, I'm sure we could come up with a list of
movie, or at least franchises that have come close to being perfect. Or pretty perfect. So
who knows? Maybe we'll talk about that on a future episode.
Maybe. But what are we doing on our next couple of episodes, Jake?
Yeah, the next episode, because we like to do these kind of every 2 weeks, but the way it worked out is that July 1st just happens to be a Saturday, and it just happens to be the middle of the year. We will have finished 6 months of the year, and we will have 6 months to go. So instead of 2 weeks, we'll be back. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks, but we'll be back in 3 weeks with like a big topic of the best of the year so far.
But in the meantime,
talking 2023 movies, and then talking about just some first time watches that we've discovered.
Oh yeah, I've seen 30 new releases so far this year, so that's pretty good. I'm on a good track.
Nice.
And I've seen 25 old movies that were new to me so far this year. And I've got some standouts from there as well. So I got stuff to talk about.
I'm a little shorter on the new releases, but I do have a stack. I've got some
Hey, you've got like
episode now. Yeah,
you've got 3 weeks to watch stuff, uninterrupted. We don't have to do any prep for our next show, which we'll talk about what we're doing in a minute. So at least you don't have to like prep for anything, just ever make a wheel, which takes 10 minutes.
Which I've already made.
Right. So yeah, I mean, so you got some time. Some of these movies are coming out on streaming pretty soon. So, a lot of the stuff from the first half of the year. So you got some time to watch some stuff. So yeah.
And either my Walmart is just ahead or the release date was wrong online, because I've already got a copy of John Wick 4, so I can finally, get that. I'll finally knock that one off. Yeah, when I was reading it, it was what I read was it was supposed to be.
I didn't think it was. I know it's out on digital right now, but is the actual Blu-ray out now?
Apparently, because I thought it was what I read was a release of June 13th.
Yeah, because I thought it came out this week.
June 13th, but
okay. But you can actually buy it on Amazon right now, and it says 1-day delivery. So maybe it came out a few days early.
Yeah, because I do.
Nice.
I do have it.
Oh, and you haven't seen it, and you didn't see it yet, have you?
I haven't seen it, so I'm going to be
get ready for one of the best movies of the year so far. Have fun with that.
This is I mean, the top of my I think it's been a good year.
I think it has
for movies so far. I mean, I've seen Spider-Verse twice already, and I can confidently say I not only is that going to be my favorite movie of the year, I see it being a contender for just like one of my favorite movies of all time. It was that good for me. But we'll talk about that more on the first. And in a couple weeks, we'll be doing another one of our blind rankings, because we didn't want to go 3 weeks without a show. So it's it's another one, a blind ranking, but we put like a caveat on each of our wheels. So I have made a horror sequel wheel, and Austin has made an animated wheel, but it's all post
from 2000, post 2000,
2000s to now.
And I might even be including some recent releases, Jacob. Let's just put it that way on that wheel. So let's just put it that way.
Just don't include Spider-Verse yet, because I'm going to feel bad if it doesn't. I gave away my number one. It's across Spider-Verse.
You can't tell me. You can't tell me what to do with my wheel, Jacob.
Shoot.
Hey, it might not even come up. I put 30 things on the wheel and we spin it 20 times. You never know.
True. That's true. So
it might not even come up. I'm just saying. I might have some recent stuff on your.
Okay. No, that's good. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to relook at the wheel side. I think I've got a good range of decades and whatnot. So
cool. That's good.
Yeah, that'll be in a couple weeks, and then, yeah, we got tournament fights, tier rankers coming up. Not a tier ranker. That's not till the end of the month. The animated championship, which,
Yeah.
whoo, those 50 movies are going to be tough.
Yeah.
I like to love every single one of those movies. So yeah,
And then you might have to have me make the bracket because we're going to do a tournament fight of all those top tens plus the honorable mentions in an actual tournament fight.
I can make that one because I already have the picture saved.
Well, I'm just saying you might have some heart attacks when you see some of the matchups. I'm sure prematurely as they come up.
That's true, but I'll work through it.
You'll work through it.
I'll
Just drink water, breathe. Do your meditation
Yeah.
even in the first round, deciding Little Mermaid versus Hunchback of Notre Dame or whatever, things like that.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, but that should be fun. So yeah, there'll be a whole bunch of that, and we're even going to throw in. I know for a draft at some point, maybe about a month after that, we're going to do an actual animated movie draft. So that would be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be fun too. Yeah, because any animated movie, is eligible.
It's out. So Across the Spider-Verse, I would say, is eligible being in theaters. So you could even potentially draft that. So
when I tell you that because I've been thinking about it, when I tell you that I have legitimately been racking my brain over which movie I would choose first, Lion King or Across the Spider-Verse.
Wow, interesting.
I'm not exact. And it could just be recency bias. But if I get one that if I get that last pick and Lion King is still there, I'll be fine because I can just go back to back because we do snake drafts.
No, you're probably
if Lion King is still there.
You're like, if only I just had it on Blu-ray and I could just have it on, just on. And
it's one of those movies I would not mind just turning it on in the background every single day. But then it could be recency bias because it is fairly new.
Yeah,
but it definitely did hold up on a rewatch, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again in the big screen before it gets taken out. So it's definitely one of those movies that just hit me the right way. I now obviously I think Spider-Verse is a lot better than Jurassic World Dominion, but it's one of those for me, if I were to do my top 128 tournament, I'd consider putting Across the Spider-Verse in there, even though it has only been out for a couple weeks.
I get it. I'm jealous. I'm very jealous because I can't physically watch it. I'm very jealous of the praise it's getting. I know people are going gaga for it. I get it. I just wish I could physically watch it because I'd enjoy it as much as you would. But yeah, unfortunately I can't. But I'm very happy that you enjoyed it as much as you did. I was very happy to see that. And I'm glad it was everything you wanted and more. So
it was. And I will dive more.
And you know what? There isn't part 2 coming next year or something
next year,
like that?
Yeah, Beyond the Spider-Verse will be next
year. I know how much you love even the first one. So if they stick the landing, are you talking about a perfect trilogy for yourself, Jacob? You know what I mean?
I think so. I think this could, because my favorite trilogy right now, just top to bottom, I think is Lord of the Rings, and I think if they nail that finale, this could rival Lord of the Rings as far as trilogies for me.
Well, it's all the same, directors and writers and everything, and I guess from what I heard, they ended on a nice cliffhanger, and so yeah, and not the only movie this summer it's ended on a cliffhanger. Several of them actually, which is weird.
Right.
The Fast movie, Mission Impossible is going to end on a cliffhanger.
Because that's being marketed as a part 1, right?
It's a part 1, yeah. It's absolutely part 1. The other one will be out next year. It's already done. Yeah, it's in the can. I think Across the Spider-Verse Part 2 is in the can. They've already finished it, or at least in post-production right now. So that actually will be out regardless of the writer's strike. You'll still get your movie next year, I believe, because it's already done.
Right.
So that's at least good news in case there's some delays next year. You still get your Spider-Verse. Yeah. I'll still get my Mission Impossible, so we'll be good.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, a couple of cliffhangers. But I'm happy for you, man. I hope it ends up being one of the best trilogies ever, for sure.
I hope so too. And
you can sit down at some point, just line up the Blu-rays on top of your player, put them one after another, boom, 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 and just have a great afternoon. You know what I mean?
I would. Once it's released, I'll probably do that
for sure.
If you want to hear some more thoughts and some spoilery thoughts,
are you going to be on Battleground Casual tonight?
I will in about half an hour over on TNG. Battleground Casual. I'll be over there, and then even tomorrow on Rankum, we're doing the Spider-Man franchise, and Across the Spider-Verse, I believe, will be included because I think everyone that's on the panel has seen it.
Well, I think that was like a prerequisite. It's like go see Spider-Verse before you.
So it's gonna be all those movies. It's gonna be the two Venom movies and Morbius. So there's a clear last place, but the first place, it's hard to tell.
You never know, man. Spider-Man 2 is a good movie.
Exactly. Even that one, even the
Far
first
From Home is a good movie.
Yeah, No Way Home.
No Way Home is a good movie. Yeah, it's who knows? Yeah, you're a big fan of that movie too, so who knows? Yeah.
Yeah, that one will be tough as well. But yeah, lots of Spider-Man talk coming this weekend. And then I believe for tournament fights, is it the duos championship on Monday?
Think he switched it to the mystery thing. I think we're gonna delay the duos another week or so because he's out of town. So I think he just flip-flopped those, so it'll be like a mystery tournament. I think on Tuesday.
I'll be on.
And then it's some tough matchups. I'll tell you that. So
well, I saw what was involved because I watched that selection.
Yeah, it's a lot of tough movies. So yeah,
I know which ones I'll be championing.
Tough bracket. Oh no, some of your favorite movies are on there, so that's cool. And then I think on Friday, I think on Friday we have a Father's Day. We're doing the tier ranker for movie dads instead of movie moms because we already did the movie moms. We're gonna do the movie dads for Father's Day. So coming up. We'll be talking about movie dads. Yeah, which would be fun. Which one?
Mr. Incredible.
Hey, Mr. Incredible's on there.
Funny. Mr. Incredible in the first movie, not a great dad.
Well,
in the second movie, fantastic dad.
We can talk about it, so you can factor that in. Lonely Marks will be doing some MLW Battle Riot, one of Richie's picks. So
yes, I gotta watch that.
Gotta watch that on YouTube. I'll probably watch it just the day of. I had the day off, so I'll watch it that day. I have my Battleground title match with Alma Ramosas is finally getting uploaded tonight as of this recording. So finally premiering after it's been a while since we recorded that actually. So
I'm recording one tomorrow.
And I'm hosting that tomorrow. I'll be there. I'll be there. So I'll be there to watch you. Hey, you got better debating, man. Our wrestling debate was good. You did a good job.
Hey,
so
when it's
you've been practicing.
So. Not only that, but when it's something that I'm passionate about and it's something that I genuinely just love. I think that helps too because.
Sure.
I did a TMNT debate with Will Cohen, which will be uploaded sometime. And I think when you're passionate and you just really enjoy I think that plays a factor.
And that's the same thing with me. People wonder why I pick the things I pick sometimes, and it's because if it's something I'm passionate about, I can talk about it all day. So you want to,
right?
So that'll be that. I'll be doing tomorrow night, Ryan Permison's Nerd Culture channel. After that Battleground recording, I'll be talking Man of Steel on there. We'll be doing like a watch-along commentary kind of a thing. So I'm a big Snyder guy. I'm a big Snyder guy. I'm looking forward to the Flash, kind of the conclusion of the Snyderverse, so to speak. You know what I mean? Until we move on to this, whatever this James Gunn universe is going to be. Kind of putting a button on the Snyderverse once and for all. So bittersweet for me because I'm a Snyder guy and I love those movies, but. It is what it is. Even my dad wants to see The Flash. It's very interesting. I said that was coming out this week, and I said, "Oh, but the Michael Keaton Batman stuff," and he's like, "Oh, really? Oh, okay, maybe I'll watch that with you." So even he's interested because he's hearing good things about the movie. So he wants to see. He wants to see a lot of movies this summer. It's cool. He wants to see Indiana Jones. He wants to see Mission Impossible. He wants to see Oppenheimer. We're gonna go see it. IMAX. Yeah. We're gonna actually make a trip about an hour away to the nearest IMAX. It's about an hour from here. We're gonna go watch it in IMAX. Oppenheimer. Cool. So that should be cool.
Yeah, This could be one of the better summer seasons that we've had in recent memory. So,
and it could be interesting. We're going to do our show on the 1st, and there could be movies coming in the couple of weeks right after that could be in my top 10 for the year.
Indiana Jones might surprise us.
I was thinking more about Mission Impossible and Oppenheimer, but that was more what I was thinking about. But hey, each his own.
if you like it, you like it. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, that trailer hasn't sold me, so we'll see.
Yeah.
But again, I haven't seen Crystal Skull, so I've been lucky enough to only see the 3 good ones.
I told Richie we're doing, that series. We're actually going to finish off the trilogy with him, over on Wheel of Movies. We're actually going to watch Temple of Doom and Last Crusade and talk about it with him because he's watching for the first time. And I said, hey, when you get to Crystal Skull, just read the Wikipedia, watch a YouTube video or two, talking about it, summing it up, whatever, and you're good. You're
Yeah,
fine.
yeah. When you get to Crystal Skull, just don't.
Just don't. You can do other things with your time. You're fine. Just watch this trilogy and you're good. So
yeah. So lots of good stuff coming to the channel, and elsewhere that we're also involved in. So yeah, hit that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. Hit the bell because we don't always go live at the same time. And if you want to watch us live, then hit that bell and you'll be notified when we go live. If you're watching on the replay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll be back in a couple weeks with a blind ranking.
And we'll still record our movies for the week after Mission Impossible. I think we'll review those movies, I believe, right?
Yeah, we'll do. Because we'll do the same thing we did last time.
Just the scheduling wise, it'll have to come after the mid show and the Mission Impossible show to tie in with that. But we'll get to it at the end of the next month. We'll write them down. But yeah, we'll do the same thing. We'll each pick a number from each of the rankings, and then 2 random spins, from each wheel, and we'll just do a hodgepodge 4 movie review like we did last time. That was fun. We got a nice mix of stuff. So
it was.
It was a good time.
Yeah. So that'll be it. That'll conclude our show for today. I don't have a fun picture to use for this one like I do for Lonely Mark. So maybe I'll have to
find one. Yeah, you should find just a picture of the shark from Jaws: The Revenge and show everybody how funny it is. Like maybe I can just find one really quick and share my screen because we have to show people if you haven't seen. With the shark, Jaws: The Revenge, like how gummy it looks and how like how just terrible it looks. Like, let me see if I can pull up a quick image. Just pardon me. Okay, here we go. Here's a good one. Yeah, let's pull that up. Why did it pull up the Jaws wiki? I don't want that. Or I'll share this screen, Jacob, and it's got a couple of different pictures on here. You'll be able to see it. Here we go. Share that screen if you would, sir. Let's blow it up and see what that looks like. Oh, look at that. Doesn't that look bad?
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. And that's the scene right at the end where he pops out and almost gets stabbed. Yeah, look at that one right there. That's oh man, look at those gums and look at like the gums, right? You see that? Like, look at how gummy he is, just like how rubbery he is. Like,
hey, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks.
It's really bad.
It's not good.
Look how shitty that is.
That's Austin. I'm Jacob. That's God. Bruce the Shark.
That's not Bruce. That's like Bruce's like dumber inbred cousin.
That's Bruce's cousin Cletus. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.